Hey, all you hitchers and drifters, it's Logan. I wanted to give you a quick rundown about next week's episode with Team Boozers. We have a special guest, Jennifer, who is coming in to talk about her personal experience with a malevolent ghost. She was on a show called A Haunting, Season 8, Episode 3, Eternal Grief, that you can watch on Discovery+. Make sure to check it out and come back next week while she tells Golden Jay and Alicia about her scary-ass experience. Keep it spooky. Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to the United States of Paranormal podcast, your one-stop fucking... God damn it!
You were doing good!
Yeah, but a one-stop... What's a one-stop shop for everything cryptid and creepy? It's a fucking road trip. It's not a fucking store.
The one-stop shop
Yeah,
for
no
everything
shit.
cryptid and creepy. Let's do it.
Hey, all you hitchers and drifters... fuck. Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to the United States of Paranormal podcast, or fucking... this is gonna be it now.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to the United States of Paranormal podcast. Our fucking... I can't even remember the fucking phrasing here now. Welcome back, all you hitchers and drifters, to the United States of Paranormal podcast, where we take a weekly tour of the United States for all things cryptid, creepy, and paranormal. We have something a little bit somber that we need to break down for you, listeners. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Brandon's gone to the Spectrum van in the sky. No longer is he part of the team because he's gone. He's perished. And we mourn him, especially Matt.
The arms of the angels.
And we can't afford that, so you're gonna have to be like the outreach of heavenly beings or something. You can't go arms of the angel. We're gonna get sued. So I want to have a moment of silence for our fallen comrade, who we are going to be replacing. So email us for your audition tapes. Let's have a moment of silence for Brandon. Brandon, you may not be really dead, but you're dead to us. So this week, we're actually going to have a temporary co-host on to try out to replace Brandon. And we are going to be having, we'll start off going to the left here instead of the right like I normally do. We have Creepy Kitty, Kayla Blake, is going to be sitting in to try and replace Boze.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
There you go. And then we've got Felipe has come in to tell us some stories of incidents that he and people he's known has experienced.
Howdy, howdy.
And then we've got Matt Frisby.
Hi.
Yeah, see? You're filling in for Brandon? Is that what that was? You're bringing that low-key energy?
Someone's got to bring it back.
Yeah. Brandon's not here because he sucks. I mean, that's all I got.
You sound pretty cross about that.
It's all right. It's okay.
He's like, we only set this date like 2 weeks in advance, so him
Is
to
it?
cancel at the last moment.
That's the sound of a scorned interviewee right there.
I'm a little offended.
What was it, 5-hour drive? 4-hour drive?
Close to 4.
Yeah. Bad rapport there.
Brandon, I just want you to know, like, you really fucked me up, dude. I was hoping to see you. I hadn't seen you in like 7 years, bro. I was hoping to reconnect on like an emotional level to rekindle what we had when we were in college.
Star-crossed lovers.
We're just going to have to get out the Ouija board and try to reach out to Brandon from here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll move on from that. We'll
Last
know
thing I
real
need is a
quick if
ghost
Brandon
that sits in
listens
the
to it.
corner and cries.
Yes. We'll know real quick if Brandon listens to our own podcast.
That's what one of my stories is about.
So it's been a little
in
while
the corner.
since we've been in the studio. It's been a hot second since we've been sitting down. It feels nice to sit down and everything. It's a little weird being here without Brandon because we've only done one other show without Brandon, and that was Dallas with Jeremy and Skylar. Actually, we just got back from, we did record last week. It was the live show.
Yeah, we did. And that was a lot of fun.
It was. I can't wait to go back to the Poor Brothers. It's going to be dope when we do. I enjoyed it, every second of it.
Absolutely. We had a good crowd. Not a big crowd, but a good crowd.
We didn't get canceled.
Or I don't know. Does 40 people count as a good crowd? What's the qualification
Beaumont,
of a good
Texas?
crowd?
I think it's pretty good for
Yeah.
Beaumont.
Well, yeah, because I want to know what Poor Brothers restrictions on are how many people they're allowed to have in the brewery before the fire marshal gets called and be like, hey, fucking somebody needs
There's
to
a
leave.
number inside the building.
I'm about to say, yeah, there should be a plaque somewhere that
Yeah,
actually
that's
says
their
that
capacity.
information.
Like
40 people's a
capacity.
big crowd, especially for Beaumont, Texas live paranormal podcast. I mean, like, oh, that's groundbreaking in this area. I don't think there's been a live podcast done in the Golden Triangle.
Yeah.
I've definitely never noticed.
40 people for 3 assholes in the boons of Texas.
There has been. Was it Larry King of the Road? He came out during Mardi Gras in our year when we went here to do what's his name? The guy who dubs himself the King of Mardi Gras. He's a real big act. He does a lot of music around here.
Tracy Bird?
I'm not a
Not Tracy
socialite.
Bird.
I couldn't tell you.
He's an
I keep
older
up with all
guy,
that.
an older gentleman.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a story for another time. I listened to the live show this past week with all the mishaps that were in the audio. I noticed that. Shame on you, Matt.
What mishaps?
All the freaking weird silences.
There's not a bunch of weird silences.
You're getting dumped on.
Huh?
No, this is good. This is good.
But
This is a
God.
growth experience. There is one section, I will say there are two problems. There is one section where the audio cuts out. We had to edit that out.
Yeah, because Brandon, after I said twice in that day, one, I was like, let's not say anything super offensive tonight, guys, and looked at Brandon. And then right before we started, I had us all put our hands in the middle, and I was like, let's not get canceled. And we throw our hands up, right? And then Brandon says something very offensive at one point in time, so it had to get cut out.
Yeah, I will say it's not necessarily very offensive. I don't know.
It might be offensive
The
to
level-
people that have dealt with the subject
Yeah,
or had a
the
family
level,
member deal with
like,
it.
It's the level of offensiveness is
It was tame
it's
for
not
Brandon.
cancelable, but it's also like
It's off color because like I was in
Okay.
the front row and I was listening and like I heard it firsthand and I kind of cringed a little bit, but that might just be because of how I know that you guys are always trying to keep him under control.
I walked away at that point and was dealing with other people, so I heard about it from other people. They were like, people were like, oh man, when Brandon said this, and I was like, Brandon said what now?
yeah,
That's
but
never good.
and I also saw Matt's face.
Oh, yeah.
whenever he
Yeah,
said
Kyle
it.
told me that too. He was like, Matt made a face at Brandon when he said it, and I was like, I've seen that face.
He said it, and I was just like,
Yeah,
Oh no.
that's so
your
I
face
had,
made me laugh.
yeah, I had to cut what he said and then my response to it out. That is to be said. I forgot. I need to message Jeremy and let him know. I do have a recut of the episode where that is more tastefully removed. Also, I don't know if you've noticed, there was actually a sync issue in the episode that I had to fix as well,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
where you can hear Logan talking, and
Over
then
myself.
you can hear
Oh, I heard that.
you can
the
hear
first one, yeah.
Logan also talking in the background.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, why is there an echo?
Which
There's
I
like
think
a
I
good
know.
latency
I think I
echo.
know what caused that problem. I think what happened is, so when I'm at home, I dock my laptop, and I have a keyboard that has Bluetooth and a wireless dongle that plugs into my computer. So the Bluetooth I have set to link to my laptop. So I think what happened was I switch back and forth while I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had it set to Bluetooth when I was trying to type in something on the PC.
Oh, okay.
And you
I
know
got
Pro
you.
Tools, every letter has some kind of
Yeah.
command. So I think
Accidentally
I had
recording
unwittingly desynced that one section of it, and all of my going back and reviewing, I had never got to a section of it where there was the desync issue.
Well, that's a lot of like, I know how it is to like edit shit, and it's like it becomes so monotonous. You're like, oh, everything's good. So little things like that can be overlooked.
That's it.
I
Like you
get it,
trying to edit usually an hour long. This one was 2 hour long, and
Yeah.
as quick as getting it edited and mixed in as quick a means as possible
I know.
opens up a lot of chance for things that you miss.
Oh, I know that.
And I will say, the person who tried to point it out to me only used the word, it seems like chaos in this section.
Let's
Oh.
let's be
Like,
clear.
oh shit, what is that chaos? Like,
Yeah, and so
Let's
the
be clear. Before he throws me under the bus for this, I said I was like, if we need to cut this, it sounds like pure chaos. I'm okay with it. And he says nothing. He doesn't ask me about it. He says nothing. And then I revisited again. I was like, hey, did we fix this? And what are we doing about the chaos? And he was like, I had no intentions of ever going back and fucking with it. So I was like, fine. I was like,
Okay.
I felt no need to elaborate
in
there. I
that
was like, if
region-
that's the case,
in
because
that
I
region of
figured
silence, I went to the region he was talking about because I knew what area he was talking
Yeah.
about. And my thought was, he's talking about chaos. He's just talking about, he's talking to somebody in the audience. I'm talking with Brandon on stage. That's that same time frame that we had that section cut out. And I was like, it's a bit hectic, but it's kind of our style. And the section I went back and reviewed, I did not hear the desync. So that when I thought he said chaos, I thought he was referring to content, not technical issues.
Gotcha.
So all I request is that we try to be as concise as possible in the future about what needs to be fixed and not just use a vague word like chaos.
Listen, if you would have asked me to explain, I would have done it. But you're like, I had no intention of going back and fucking with it. I was like, fine.
I knew
All right.
exactly what section you were talking about, and I knew what I thought you were referring to as chaos. But had someone just used the word, I'm hearing myself twice.
Yeah.
I say word, phrase.
Well, with unscripted shows,
good.
podcasts in general, isn't it kind of all like controlled chaos? Because eventually you'll drift off topic and come back.
Oh, certainly.
Especially on live shows.
Certainly.
Like I hear it all the time on other podcasts where it's, just two people talking back. In this case, you had, 3 plus a whole audience of what you said, 40 people.
Oh,
so, yeah, tends to be a lot of chaos. And
That's it. It was our first live show. There was a lot of kinks to work out. Don't get me wrong. I am not blaming you for the fuck up because I fucked up big time on getting that edited and putting it out. I just ask to make all of our lives easier. If you have a note, try to be as concise as possible when you are delivering it so that there's not a communication issue in what the problem actually is. That said, I've got it uploaded. I just have to message Jeremy and say, hey, plug
Upload
this
a
in.
third version of this episode.
Third. No, this is...
Well, for him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Third
Jesus.
version we've sent to him.
I think this is the 5th cut of the episode that I have rendered. Yeah, I have goofed up big time.
Damn it, man.
Multiple times with this one, trying to get it out.
I don't blame you. I used to edit like hour and a half, 2 hour long like episodes of podcasts, so I know how that is, dude. It's like 2:00 in the morning. You're like, Jesus Christ, I need to get this done with.
I always listen to like every one he sends me because God knows we know Brandon's not.
That was another issue with this is that we shot this on a Friday night and we had to have it ready to upload Sunday night. So there was a very short turnaround on a 2-hour podcast.
So I listened to the first cut he had, and my only complaints were the chaos. And at the end, we have a plug that has music and a plug. And Matt accidentally snagged just the music, not the plug itself, with the music. So I was like, hey, we fix this. And so Matt went in and fixed that. And in my head, like I was like, it's a simple fix. I don't need to listen to the new cut. Didn't listen to the new cut. Comes Wednesday, start the episode, and I think my Spotify's fucked because every 20 seconds it cuts.
Yeah,
like
okay, that's what I was hearing when I was listening.
I'm sorry, that's what you're talking about. That was a render error.
I figured. I'm like, I knew surely. I'm like, there's no way he made that many fucking.
I was in my car and I thought it just sounds like Spotify was being fucky.
Yeah.
So I kept trying to reset my Spotify. I was like, what's going on? And then I went over to Apple and I clicked it on. I was like. And it was doing the same thing. I was like, oh, fuck. And I went over to the drive, and there it was. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I think that problem came from it had been a while since I'd last reset my computer, and the cache was running high.
Yeah.
So that created, on a file that's as big as a 2-hour long thing, it's multiple gigabytes.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was causing it. So as soon as I was keyed into it, I reset my computer, I re-rendered, and then I imported it back into Pro Tools so that I could make sure there were no cuts in the final version.
This is the second time that's happened because we had another time where we forgot to put the plug on the end.
Oh.
And I was like, hey, there's no plug. And we put that in. And I was like, oh, it's just a plugs at the end. I'm not going to re-listen to this edit because it's just a plug. Well, then when he put the plug in, it did this fucking gnarly thing to where our outro was on top of our plugs. So we were talking.
Everything was layered over it. And
we were talking over it.
Right
and so as soon as the plug ended, it cut our audio for our show. So the show just abruptly ended.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never doing that again. If it's like there's just something muffy with the outro, I'm listening to the whole thing from start to finish for the 5th time.
Well, I think that was on another day where we were coming down to the wire on when we were supposed to have it uploaded.
Ooh.
And so it was a lot of rushing.
That was with the commercial. Well, that was with our first time travel commercial.
I think the biggest rendering I've ever done was when I did an audiobook and rendering. I think the whole audiobook was like 12 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I had to listen to a freaking 12-hour book full recording audiobook like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I was like,
No.
just to make sure, because I was like, fuck,
I know.
that's fucked up.
No
That's
joke.
fucked up.
Yeah,
Making
no,
notes
like,
over and over and over.
People that don't do it don't grasp it because it's like you listen to it a bunch while you're editing it. I don't edit. That's not my thing, but I listen to it over and over and over and over again because, like I said, we know Brandon's not listening to it. Okay.
He's not, while he's not here to defend himself.
Oh no,
What a
he
piece
would.
of
He would.
shit.
Straight, if he was sitting here, he would say it too.
No, he does. I don't know that he listens to all of them. He does listen to at least some because he does come back to me with notes.
Yeah. But I'll be listening to I'll listen to one episode after he sends it to me like 3 times, just going over it, being like, all right, there's this. And then the few times where I'm like, it's fine. It's something fucky happened. So it's never again.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's a process. The whole thing's a process.
All that to say, I enjoyed the live show when I listened to it. It was great. You guys sounded great.
Oh, thank
It
you.
was a lot of fun.
I've got a buddy that he does 3D printing helmets and paints them and everything, Stickosaurus. And he got back to me while we were dealing with all that. And I knew he listens, but I didn't think to tell him like, hey, wait, this. And he was like, hey, listen to the new episode. It was great. And I was like, you listened to that whole thing like that? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, the skipping? He was like, I thought my Spotify was messed up. And I was like, oh, man, I hope everybody just blames
Yeah.
Spotify.
Well,
No
that's
offense,
it.
Spotify.
On the
if
bright
you're listening.
side, we can gaslight the audience.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. Like, no,
it was
it's fine
Spotify.
on our end. What do you
We should have
got
just
done?
denied
must've
it
been a
instead of me
streaming
putting out that
service.
post saying we had technical difficulties. It should have been like, oh, the streaming services are acting weird today. And just hope the Apple people don't listen to the talk to the Spotify people and see
That's
something
fine.
wrong.
Every time we make a mistake, we can learn from it, and we just
Get
adapt,
better.
and we do better on the next one. So,
Yeah.
again, I've started re-importing stuff every time I do a bounce. That way I can double-check the waveform, make sure we don't have those errors. I will do better about resetting my computer and making sure that everything is cleared out before working on that. And that will help us prevent bigger issues on the editing process. Also, hopefully, eventually, Brandon will start editing some episodes again as well.
It's been a little while.
Does he not hit it? Oh,
He did the first, the first 2?
He did the first
Okay.
several, and then I started picking up the editing.
Oh, yeah, because it got, to be fair to him, it got super hectic with his mandatory overtime at Spectrum.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
had,
I don't blame you.
next
there,
to
dude.
no fucking free time. He had, Sunday, and that was it. And we were like, dude, we don't want you to have to spend your whole Sunday editing.
Yeah.
and that's
Editing.
your only day
Oh, my
off.
Yeah.
God,
So right
yeah.
now, we have a backlog, but we don't have an edited backlog. We have a
Gotcha.
backlog of stuff that when that week starts to come up, we edit that episode for the week. So
Gotcha.
the hope is that we can get ahead on that and we can have some stuff in the pipeline and ready to go out so that the editing workload gets reduced as well.
Got you.
Because it's whenever I'm at home and I'm trying to edit stuff, I've also got a child that is running around the house, and that is only going to get worse in September.
Oh my god.
So trying to make things easier, make it to where we're not doing stuff down to the wire,
Yeah.
is going to help us improve.
And having a huge backlog to draw from definitely helps with that.
It's my feelings about backlogs a little mixed.
I don't want to go. Yeah, I don't like the idea of going too far out with a backlog because
We have instances like when Chiller Filler hit, which wasn't long ago.
Yeah,
In that Chiller Filler, we're like, hey, episode 0 just came out. And we're
Oh.
talking about it like 3 months. This is like 3 months after episode 0's come out. And in that episode, we're like, yay, it just came out. And people are probably listening and be like, what the fuck? We're like, this is episode 9. And they're like, what the fuck? And we're like, it's nice to also be able to talk since we have another team that we go with. And they record, they haven't had like a massive backlog. Like from the start, we had a massive backlog. So they've been able to be in their episodes, like mention stuff on our episodes. But with us, we weren't talking about their episodes because we hadn't heard by the time
of
we'd
their
done our
stuff came
5th
out
episode,
yet,
we hadn't
yeah.
heard a single
Yeah.
one of their episodes.
Gotcha.
So that's like the catch of it. It's nice to have the backlog there
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry or panic.
that's it. It's a mixed bag, and like I said, we had almost a whole month where we couldn't get in and record because there kept being scheduling conflicts, and
We just murdered our backlog. Just took it out back.
but it was nice to be able to rely on that backlog.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag, and trying to find that balance to where we can stay as personal as possible. Because that's another thing with the backlog. I feel like you lose a lot of
Yeah,
that
a lot of
personal
personal
element
stuff with it. Yeah.
where you can't talk about things that are like going on in a specific bit of time and stuff like that.
I got you. It's always nice to have like the relevant, like, hey, this happened. It's
Yeah.
a live feel
But
to
with
it.
our format, we are able to get away a little bit with building that backlog because we're presenting cases. And
That's the beauty of our uniqueness of our
yeah.
podcast is that when we pitched it, one of the things I said is I've got 2 kids at home and everything and a full-time job. And I was like, I've always wanted to do podcasts, but I was like, most people want to listen to podcasts that's consistently. I mean, my podcast I listen to have an episode every week.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do a twice a month podcast. I was like, I wouldn't listen to that because it's just a bummer. And I was like, but if we did it with another team,
Then
that would be great because then I only have to put out 2 episodes a month, but we still have a weekly podcast.
Yeah.
So it works out great.
And I mean, it's been fantastic. And it's in my opinion, when I go back and listen, because unlike Brandon, I listen to every episode.
You kind of have to.
I don't listen. Yeah, no, I listen to exactly. I listen to our episodes while editing or reviewing, but then I also get the pleasure of listening to Team Boozer's, Team Indiana's stuff when it drops, and I get to listen like everybody else who listens. So it becomes another
like,
podcast for me to listen to.
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
cool
I'll
to be
get to
able
listen to
your
the new
own
episode of my
podcast,
podcast,
and
yeah.
not know what's coming at, like
Yeah,
what it's going to be
exactly.
like. It's nice.
That is
So
cool.
it also provides some freshness. I really appreciate that they're a very different vibe than what we
yeah.
are, where we are 3 assholes mouth vomiting for an hour.
I like them. They're like, they're fun.
They give me.
They're
they
very
give me,
personal. Like, I like that.
They give me like
yeah.
8:00 at night radio show vibes. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
like they give.
yeah.
It's like both their voices are like just
real somber,
somber, and they're just like, "Hey guys,
soft-spoken.
how's it
They're
going?"
pretty relaxing.
Yeah.
Like I like listening to it. It's a very
yeah.
different vibe, but I enjoy both of
And
them.
then meanwhile,
oh, yeah.
we're like a fucking circus train on fire on our end. You never know what the fuck you're
no,
gonna get.
if they were like us, if
It would
I
just be
fo-
madness.
Yeah.
I don't think I would. I don't think I'd be able to listen. Like I don't want to. Like I like having something toned down.
Oh yeah, no, you go to their episode and you're gonna
Dial
learn about the
back.
Slide Rock Bolter and have a few jokes and like enjoy it and just easy listening.
Yeah.
You go to us and you're like, oh, the Winchester House, and then all of a sudden it's like anal tuberculosis, people falling in the sinks, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
I ain't gonna lie. I was listening to that one while I was at work, and I'm a crane operator, so I sit in a heavy piece of equipment all day, and most of the time it's waiting to pick up one thing and then set it back down. So I'm listening to that, and as you guys are making that joke, I'm fucking pissing myself from the crane laughing. And
I thought he was about to be like, and then I heard a cough and it didn't come from my mouth. And I immediately called the doctor, as you should.
and everybody's that's working on the ground in front of me are looking up, and they're like, what the fuck are you laughing at? What is so goddamn funny? And I'm just like, I can't even explain to them because they can't hear me, but they can just see it on my face as I'm laughing. And so my crew thinks I'm like, I don't know, man, he's loco.
The amount of people that are laughing at probably one of the scariest diseases ever, just because what it is. But like the story behind that is like I knew about this because there was that story. There is that guy. I'm trying to remember his name, but he was covered. The story was covered by salmonella, and it's about this dude that had a never stopping appetite. And like he's something we have to cover at some point because he was in his own way a cryptid. Like the dude was a solid freak show. Like they literally could take a flashlight and he opened his mouth and they could see into his fucking stomach. And like this dude could eat anything. I'm trying to remember his name, but it is gnarly. And like to where this dude, they kicked him out of the army. Like this was way back in the day because he would not stop eating, and they would find him eating garbage and everything else because it was he couldn't stop his hunger. Yeah.
It just
To where they used him. They're like, this guy's bizarre as shit and can digest anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to use him as a spy. We're going to make him swallow this little wooden box with a note in it, and we're going to send him across enemy lines. And he's going to go out there, he's going to pass it, and he's going to give it to the person. And he got caught, and they kept him until he passed it. And then they were going to keep him as a prisoner of war. But they got rid of him. They faked his own death and got rid of him because they could not keep feeding his ass. I'm dead serious. And at one point, it is almost certain he ate a baby. They had him in a hospital studying him, and he
got to
got
the
so
maternity
hungry
ward.
they found
my
him
God.
eating, like drinking blood out of fucking drain buckets,
Oh,
and a baby went missing.
Oh
and they
my
were like, "Yo,
God.
dude,
That's terrifying.
did you eat this baby?"
unconfirmed.
And all of this stuff happened to this dude, and like none of it killed him. All this weird shit he ate, all this Didn't kill him.
The hungry man.
He died of anal tuberculosis.
Oh my God.
That's what took my man out.
I think that's karmic justice at work.
Oh yeah, no, but that's
Like,
what took him
dude,
out.
you ate a baby. You're getting anal TB.
And one of the few things in life that Brandon takes pride of is fucking calling me out and always being like, "You're dumb. You're wrong." And we were in Discord one night, and I mentioned anal tuberculosis. And he's like, "Oh, you're fucking stupid. It's not real." I was like, "Google it. Sit down right now and Google it." And you just hear Brandon typing away, and Brandon goes, "Son of a bitch." He's like, "It's real," and I was like, "Hell yeah, it's real."
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Well, we definitely got to cover him. I got to look up his name, but he was a real dude. It was oof.
You know, he kind of sounds like an SCP.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, he is.
Very well could have
Yeah,
been.
He
I
just
could
went-
just see the containment procedures. It's like must eat like this
He
amount
just went
of food
all
or-
over the
per
world.
day.
People kept pushing him off onto other people, being like, "No,
take
your
him.
problem." They're like, "We were interested with him at first, but now he's eating babies and
so
trash."
was he not like all there mentally either, or
No, he was by all means.
coherent.
He was coherent.
Yeah.
He was a soldier.
so
Everything.
what would drive you to eat a baby?
He could.
His
he
appetite,
literally
like-
was like
That
he
hungry.
could not stop eating, and there was something wrong with them because like the way his organs and everything were in there was not right. Like I said, they could literally open his mouth and shine a light down there
Yeah.
and
See into
see
his tongue.
straight down, and they're like, that's not how that's supposed to work. And he's just like I said, just eating gnarly stuff and just
Anything and everything.
He eating like creatures with bones in them and just crushing them up in his mouth and swallowing it and having no digestive issues until anal tuberculosis. But anal tuberculosis thing is caused by stuff like that. So it was just like his body was like, "Nah, dude, we're done, tapping out."
You've done enough damage. You've
Yeah.
wreaked
You eat
havoc
a
in this
baby,
world.
you get anal tuberculosis.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's just cosmetic comic cosmic
Cosmic.
karma.
Cosmic.
There we
Cosmic
go.
karma.
Cosmetic karma.
Cosmetic.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was gnarly. But it's a
So
thing.
that's when the universe.
And here we
gives you a
are
facial.
talking about anal tuberculosis for the 13th time.
This is
It's going to
It's
be an
the life.
on-running joke. I can feel it.
Well, the amount of people I've had, like, people I didn't know that listen to the podcast or don't know, like my sister has a friend, and my sister was talking on the phone. Her friend in the background was like, "Ask him how Boze's anal tuberculosis is going." I was like, "What the fuck?"
listen. If anything, we are single-handedly raising awareness of anal tuberculosis.
Maybe
Yeah,
we
there's
are.
going to be a lot of people that had no idea that was a real
Yeah.
thing, and now they know.
Public service,
Yeah, no kidding. God bless you.
Trying to find this damn dude.
On your mission.
doing the Lord's work.
Doing the Lord's work.
Trying to Terrari. His name was Terrari.
Ferrari.
Tararre. If you ever have free time, just check that out. We'll do an episode on him. I'll do an episode on him.
You have to.
Fucking
Now I got to
freak
hear the
show.
whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's gnarly.
It's almost as fascinating as Leon Theremin's story, how he was a spy for, was it the Russians?
Did he eat a baby?
Oh, yeah.
No, he didn't eat a baby.
No.
It was nothing that cool, but he
But
was
he
still
did-
badass.
Yeah, he did eventually.
Nothing that cool.
Nothing as cool as eating
Yeah,
a baby.
he did eventually create the instrument known as the theremin.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the theremin on the way here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we listened to the song from Scrubs,
Uh-huh.
and the theremin's in that song, and I was like, "This is the same instrument they use in Star Trek." Like, and they're just that. Woo.
Yeah, I never knew
Yeah.
that that's what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
but I hear
Yeah.
it now.
Can you imagine being
Oh.
like professional theremin player, and you're just waiting for like somebody to call you to be on something? And like, seldomly I imagine it happens unless it's like sci-fi or something. But like,
Go watch a video of a professional
oh no,
theremin
it's
player.
gnarly. Those
nuts.
things are crazy looking.
You essentially have to learn a form of sign language to play that thing correctly. We actually have one here, by the way.
It's a good spooky instrument.
It
Sounds
is. It is.
awesome.
I actually recreated the theremin sound on a guitar once.
Well, that's
using
cool.
a Digitech whammy pedal, an EBow, and like the tone knob on my guitar. It sounds pretty cool.
Jeremy's
Oh,
gonna
that's
like
awesome.
hearing about that. Jeremy plays guitar and loves all that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking that's dope. Well, we're gonna dive into spooky here, but I have a few questions for you, Felipe, since you're
absolutely.
new here and everything.
Fire away.
How are you with like? Do you dig spooky movies, horror movies, all that shit?
Oh yeah.
Do you got like a top three?
Top
think?
3.
I'm not putting you on the spot, but
On the spot, I think my current, it has changed quite a bit since I've rewatched some of them. I guess third would be Cabin Fever. I recently watched that one this past
I
week.
love that movie.
Like
that's a gnarly movie.
rewatching that movie, it's like, because I watched it when I was like, oh my God, like 13.
Yeah.
And I watched it again, like I said, this past week. And it just, the way that movie carries into today is just like, God, dude, just the rawness of it. I mean, not to mention like the tons of blood and stuff there in it for the gore effect, but just like the psychological impact that it has on you, you're like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that's definitely something you need to check out if you haven't ever seen it, man.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Cabin Fever.
We had to watch it.
It's
one of my
original
favorites.
2002, I think, is when it came out. 2002 version, because they've made like 2 or 3 renditions of it. And whatever. Those are shit. The first one's the best by Eli Roth. The second one had to be Jeepers Creepers, because that's the one that gave me the most nightmares when I was a child.
Yeah, I feel that. When I was a little kid, I walked into a room and it started with seeing the people in the car being chased by his scary ass truck, and that movie fucked me up.
That is the scene in that movie that gets me the most, and it affects me to this day. Like if there's a long dark hallway and like anything's on the wall, dude, I'm like, oh, just don't let that fucking thing. Where he crawls down the hallway on the side of the wall, it's like, Jesus, it's on the side of the wall.
That movie franchise, like I'm gonna remove like the whole. I think it's the director that had all the issues and everything. Remove that from it.
Yeah.
That movie franchise is so bizarre all on its own, though, because each movie is drastically different.
It is. Yeah.
Because you got the first one where you don't really get a whole lot of close up on him and stuff. He's kind of like the fucking Oogie Man and everything. And then you got the second movie where he's in your face.
All the time.
He
And
is,
it's terrifying.
I love the second one.
Yeah,
a lot
the
of people
second one was
don't,
good.
but I
I
dig
liked
it.
it.
You got those kids trapped out in a bus in the middle of the
Yeah,
road.
and
that's-
He's
was it-
picking them off one at a time.
The second one's actually a prequel to the first one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I remember that.
I think, right?
No,
Yeah.
it was a sequel.
No, it was like it was
Well,
It's
a
a
little-
sequel to it.
It was
but-
after, because you remember the chick gets premonitions with homeboy
Yeah.
with his eyes gone.
Oh yes,
She sees one of the characters from the first film.
yes.
And then, so like that one, he's like up in your face, and it's like it's gone from like horror to hardcore
Like,
sci-fi
yeah,
horror.
yeah. Like suspense.
And
Like-
then the third movie that not a lot of people have seen, in the second movie, you don't really see his truck.
you get like a whole new vibe on his truck
Yeah,
too.
and in the third movie, it's like the truck's like the fucking main character.
Yeah.
You got people thrown in the back of it. The whole truck's fucking booby trapped like a son of a bitch. And it's just like it really focuses on the truck. Like each movie is a completely different genre of movie.
I know, yeah.
Oh, man.
And it's fucking bizarre. But I don't know. It's a great,
Yeah.
solid pick. Solid pick.
And so yeah, Jeepers Creepers is number 2, and my number 1 would have to be. I recently watched it. It's called The Sadness.
I've seen
yeah, I've been
seen
seeing
trailers
ads.
for it,
The
but I have
trailers
not
for it,
watched it.
Watch the movie. It's I think it's in Japanese or Cantonese or I forgot
Yeah,
what
it's
language.
a
It's in
another
a foreign language.
new
Yeah.
zombie.
But it's a type of zombie movie, but it's so freaking
They
intense, dude. They push the limit on like depravity.
Oh,
Ooh, I think
Korean
I
and
like it a
Japanese
lot.
zombie
Yeah.
movies have been fucking killing it for like the past like 7 years.
Yeah, I will say that like I thought, like Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that was like good here, but like when they make shit overseas in Asia, like they have a whole new level of
Oh, yeah.
like
American zombies versus their zombies. It's a night and day
their shit
difference.
wins every time.
Korean television in general is phenomenal. I haven't watched too much myself. I've watched the obvious ones. I've watched Parasite. I've watched it's Parasite.
Parasite. Mhm.
Parasite. I've watched that series that blew up on Netflix, Squid Game.
Oh, Squid Games. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I've watched
check
Squid
that
Game. I've also, my wife she was on a huge Korean TV kick long before Parasite even came out, and she was watching a bunch of dramas. She was watching a bunch of Korean sitcoms, and those.
Damn,
movies,
she went deep like sitcoms.
Yeah, like those. Well, I mean, they had some stuff on some of the streaming services, and the stuff that I did catch and the writing was incredibly good. She watched one show. It was like a Korean Journey to the West or something like that,
Interesting.
if I recall, or it might have been like a Korean fairy tale. It had a lot of these characters that we've heard about in like the Americanized versions of these characters, retelling of old Japanese stories, but it was telling it in Korean.
Oh, okay. So more traditional.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I only got to see a little bit of it, but what I watched, I've always wanted to go back and rewatch. I think it was a series, or I can't remember if it was a series or a film, but I wanted to go back and rewatch that because it looked really cool.
It's cool seeing other cultures pick up the ball and like run with it nowadays, because like you're starting to get with these streaming services, you're starting to get to see Korean horror movies and all this, and it's like at the time where like the United States is hardcore dropping the ball because I can't remember the last great horror
Not a movie that came out
movie
in theaters. Yeah.
that went to theaters that came
Besides,
out.
like, I forget his Jordan Peele? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh well, no, he's
Like,
killing
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, that
killing
dude's
it.
a thing
Yeah.
all on his own. I can't wait. We're gonna go
So
see Nope.
Nope.
We're gonna
Yeah.
go see Nope together.
We
for
are
sure.
looking forward to see Nope. I've heard great things about the Black Phone that
Yeah.
just came out recently. That's not Jordan Peele, of course. So that's somebody else. But I've heard really good things about that film. I'm not going to go watch it in theaters because I don't go see very many movies in theaters. But when it comes out on it's a streaming service, I'll definitely give it a
Yeah,
watch.
definitely.
Oh, and
Nope.
if you-
We have to go see in theaters
Yeah,
because like
Nope.
when was the last time an alien movie
Came out.
has been
yeah.
in theaters?
Besides Cowboys and
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah, good God. And it's like a horror one. Oh yeah, you got to be there for that. That shit looks fucking great. Them just that scene in that trailer with them staring up there and like that cloud ain't moved in 2 days, and his sister's just like nope, just
And
walk
every-
away.
Everybody's noping now.
Especially directed by Jordan Peele. Every film that he's put out, like,
Has been successful, like phenomenally successful.
yeah, you have no idea what what's going to be going into it.
Exactly.
And that's a big thing too. I love when somebody makes a trailer that builds your interest in it, but doesn't give away the film.
Exactly.
Which I think is a big problem nowadays.
Absolutely.
give away, like, so
I
many, like-
cannot stand watching trailers nowadays.
Yeah, it's like they give away half the movie in the trailer. It's like, well, there's all the context behind it and substance just out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for teasing that surprise character in the trailer.
I know.
Awesome.
Yeah. But anyways, that movie, The Sadness, I think you can only stream that on Shudder right now.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not trying to do a
Yeah,
plug
well,
for Shudder.
Well,
but
no, we have Shudder. Mainly we have Shudder because that's where Dragula got put, and I fucking love me some Dragula.
There is a movie I want to watch. It's an old movie, but it's called The Laughing Man.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Eraserhead. I'm like, ooh.
No,
Ooh,
no, no,
that's a
no.
gnarly one.
Yeah. Actually,
It's safe
No.
bet if it's old horror, Matt has probably not seen it. We're
Yeah.
trying to get him there.
I have seen Eraserhead, but I had to watch that as part of my sound design
Yeah.
studies.
That's the only reason I really watched that movie because someone had mentioned. I think it was. I don't want to say his name on here, but yeah, he had mentioned it, and I went back and watched it. I'm like, this is intense as fuck.
Yeah, he'll be on here eventually.
Oh,
He's
okay.
already agreed. He's got more stories than I thought he would have had.
Really?
I
This
wanted-
Bigfoot guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've
asked
been
him to
wa-
come on to eventually tell his Bigfoot story.
Oh God,
But
I love that.
apparently he has more.
What?
Yeah.
He was holding back.
So
He
you have
was holding
you have
back.
Shudder?
Yes.
Have you seen Mayhem?
No. I
Oh, it's got the dude that played Glenn in Walking Dead as the main
okay,
star,
yeah.
and that was, remember that movie?
Yeah, no,
And
that's
it's got
the movie
the
I
chick
made you watch.
from remember the horror movie Babysitter that was on Netflix?
Yeah.
It's got her in it.
Oh. Okay.
And it's about there is a disease that it's a disease that basically just fills you with unbridled psychotic rage. You're still coherent, but you're just like, you have no disregard for other people's safety, your own, and all that. And there was a famous case in that world where a guy basically murdered almost all of his employees, but he didn't do any jail time because it's not his fault.
He
the
was
disease
infected with the
happened, right?
disease.
And it goes to the office building of the people that did that case that helped that guy get
Yeah.
off and everything. And the guy that played Glenn is having a shit day. Somebody keeps taking his fucking mug, and he gets fired as soon as he's on his way out when that disease hits that building.
Oh.
And it's like a fucking
man.
pub crawl, fucking mayhem, psychotic movie where he starts at like the bottom level.
yeah. And worse.
And he's like, I'm coming for him. I'm coming for the high ups. I'm coming for the bitch that keeps taking my mug. And then there's the chick from Babysitter. She's the company kind of screwed her. Like she didn't work for him, but like
Yeah.
they're like lawyers and shit. And they, long story short, they fucked her some way. So she's with him,
Oh wow.
and
so
he's
there's
just making his way up there. And at one point, he gets on the intercom and he just gives this fucking gnarly speech where he's like, "I'm coming for you." He's like, I just want to feel bones break. I want to fuck. I want to scream. And he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm coming for all you motherfuckers. And it's like he's taking like staplers, whatever he can get his hands on. It's just,
and taking everybody out.
it's a fantastic fucking movie.
That's
They
bad.
both
Love that
kill it
movie.
in it too, because that chick is an amazing actress, and that dude needs more work because he fucking kills it and everything he's
Yeah.
in too. I think he's in Nope. I think I saw him in the trailer for it.
Oh, fantastic.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
he's
so.
fucking, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
Shudder's a good one. That's kind of, well, it's not a lot of people are going to have Shudder. Like there's some really good shit that hit Shudder, And then there's
It's hit or
E-list horror
miss.
movies.
You have to be really into horror.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
there's
a really good
also a lot-
documentary series on there
There's
too.
also a lot of movies that are kind of meh, like
It's okay if I take
very hit or miss.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
But there's really good documentary series on there. There's one that it kind of threw me off. There was one that was like, we're gonna walk you through all the iconic horror people. And it was like an episode on Jason Voorhees, an episode on Freddy Krueger, an episode on this and that. And like they picked there was some weird fucking choices in there.
Yeah, there was some people that seemed kind of random.
Like there's characters that got left out, like Leatherface wasn't discussed, right? But they discussed Candyman, like the OG Candyman. And I'm not shitting on that movie, okay? But like
to leave out Leatherface.
Yeah.
like you take a character, like all these other characters are multi-tier franchises, fucking massive movie counts. And it's just like, you're going to talk about Candyman, but you're not going to talk about Leatherface. There was another one. There's one
Yeah,
more
I'm
character
trying
that they did that was just like, but why?
Well, wasn't it specific to slashers, or was that
kind
I'm
of,
trying
sort
to
of.
remember if that was because
Well,
there was
because
one of
Chucky's
them
in there too, and Chucky is
that,
a
there was
slasher,
one
but
of them
Chucky's.
that didn't really fit with what they were going for, but I'm not sure if that was the slasher
But
one.
yeah,
that
it was a
we're
great
watching.
series. It's just like their choice was a little, and I'm thinking the fact that new Candyman remake had just hit kind of made them lean into it. But it was weird to see like huge horror characters, especially in the slasher franchise, get pushed out for something like Candyman.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Well,
like I said, Mike, like you got Leatherface. I mean, that is horror icon. And like I said, I'm not shitting on Candyman. Great movie.
yeah.
But it's like when you're like, okay, we're covering Jason Voorhees, we're covering Freddy Krueger, we're covering Hellraiser, which no offense if you like Hellraiser.
Well, no, I think
I'm not for
if
it.
you're rating, like, in my opinion, A-tier slasher, it's going to be Leatherface, it's going to be Michael Myers, it's going to be Jason Voorhees, and it's going to be Freddy Krueger.
You like we can sit here with 100 different guests and ask them their favorite horror movies. I seriously doubt anybody is coming at you with Candyman. Like it's a good movie. It just doesn't stay in the front part of your brain. It's just like it's there.
That movie was scary when I was like, I don't know, like 10.
Yeah.
And like I heard like the urban legend and the scary story, and then it was scary then. It's like Bloody Mary, in my opinion. Sorry to any,
It's never done
Candyman
anything
fans.
for me. I would have put Leprechaun on that fucking show before I would have put Candyman on that show. I mean, that's just me. And then I think that's also the channel where they had the cursed movies
Cursed films, yeah.
is on there too, where they have a series that talks about all these different films that were considered cursed, like The
seen that, yeah.
Omen, the Poltergeist series, all these films that were plagued with like horrible shit happening while they were going.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out Shudder. You've heard me say over and over again, the Discovery Plus is where it's at if you like your cryptid shows and your haunting shows and everything, and then Shudder is where you go for frame horror movies all the way up to some good ones. And, what's his face? Frodo is on there a lot too, because isn't he like one of the co-founders or something?
I don't
Elijah
know, but I
Wood,
know
you
he's
mean?
very
He's a
Wood.
fucking huge horror buff.
yeah, he is.
Massive.
And he's
Or-
actually like
or
really
genre
good
films, as he
in like
calls
other
them.
movies that aren't
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's done some funky ass horror movies.
Yeah, there's
where he's
one
been in.
movie. There's what's the one he did? Not Maniac. I don't know. There's one that I have been wanting to show you, but you're gonna have a hard time with it. But
That's always a good one. Then it's like
Yeah.
it pushes the envelope. You're like,
There's certain type of horror that it just isn't
I
my
think
vibe.
it's called Maniac.
Like I'm not a big she loves the Saw franchise.
Mhm.
That was not my
My wife loves
I
the Saw
have
franchise,
a very
too.
soft spot for gore and torture porn because I mean I do special effects, so like not
Yeah.
professionally, but I do it. So like I've just always been into
Yeah,
that.
That
they're
was-
like, oh, the creative, the art style.
Yeah.
Like, how
that
they did
era
that.
of horror was like my Great Depression. like I was like I love horror, but I love a certain
Yeah.
kind of horror. And then it was like
You didn't like the
it
Evil
was like
Dead?
it was like I love Evil Dead.
Okay, because I'm like that was full of like.
Oh, the
over
new
top
Evil Dead
crap.
was fucking gnarly. Holy shit. I was in the movie theaters fucking covering my eyes when that chick goes to lick the fucking razor and
I
everything.
know. I was like, oh,
But like that era where it was like Saw and Hostel and
loved it.
all this shit, and I was just like that was not for me.
yeah.
It's just not for me. It's scary, don't get me wrong, but it's not my kind
Yeah.
of horror.
Me neither.
But I did watch most of the Saws with her.
No, we only watched the first two.
My
Well, we
first
also
time
watched-
watching Saw, it just turned into a very disappointing double feature for me.
First Saw's
Yeah.
good.
Where the first film we watched was Norbit, And then the second film we watched was Saw.
Well, one of those movies is
the
definitely
worst kind.
I
fucking
did not-
scarier.
Yeah.
Much
That'd be Norbit.
drastically.
Yeah, it's the
That was
Norbit.
Norbit.
Norbit is also not my fucking lay of fucking horror.
I did not get to pick the films.
Yeah.
Well, we watched the new, what is it, Spiral,
Spiral,
a
yeah.
Saw story,
yeah.
the one with
Chris Rock in it.
Chris Rock and
Yeah.
Samuel L.
Samuel
Jackson.
Jackson.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in it too. He plays Chris Rock's dad in that movie.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
This is pre-slap too. So,
Oh, okay.
but that was actually good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was like Saw light. I mean, it's just somebody doing Saw type stuff, but not being Saw. They're like, it's Spiral, a Saw story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see that Jigsaw one they did before that and everything. But we're getting into movies and everything. We are here.
this is
Yeah,
supposed to be
I
a
know.
chiller film.
We're here to talk to. Well, we got to get his vibes and everything.
No, I don't disagree.
I was also like, do you have a favorite like horror movie tie-in song?
Horror movie tie-in song.
Like we talked about this on our last chiller filler. Like mine would be Dream Warriors by Dawkins. Like back when horror movies like leaned heavily on
like a
music
soundtrack.
and everything.
Oh, okay. I got
We
you.
talked about how Maximum Overdrive was that whole AC/DC city. Be
Yeah.
like, who made who?
Oh, okay. I got you. Fortunately, no. I know like there's some horror movies that I like that have like an awesome soundtrack from a variety of artists, but nothing real major. Anything that played Deftones, I was into. Just like the change in the House of Flies, that real sludge like sound. Then they played that in the background at any scene. I'm like, oh, this is so intense.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
music and
agree.
sound can make and break a horror movie.
yeah.
We were talking about the other day the sound that the tripods made in War of the Worlds.
Oh,
Still to this
that's-
day fucking haunts me in
Yeah,
my
that's
soul.
one of the
That
greatest-
and you're just like, oh fuck.
I would argue sound is probably the most important element
Oh,
of a horror
yeah.
film.
I would agree.
Because you can easily you pick the wrong song, you make something that's supposed to be terrifying comedic. and
Exactly.
it's-
Yeah.
Like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yeah.
I know, the
Yeah.
But no,
horror
that
movie
still was dope too. That
Oh, that film was probably what fucked me up the most as a kid.
I know that's why I got you the pop figure.
Yeah, like
I
it's-
fucking love that movie. Those little, like, just them sitting on the side of the road and people like seeing those clowns out there and they're just on Main Street and the clown's like waving to somebody who's got that hammer behind his back.
Yeah.
And they're fucking putting people in cotton candy and sucking the blood out of them like
Yeah,
shitty
like-
Capri Sun.
Well, that's it. Like now, as an adult, that film is hilarious to me,
Yeah.
and I love it because it's so.
Well, to be
stupid.
fair, it's like, it's stupid, but like if that shit happened in your hometown,
I don't know, it's like you don't even
that's
know what
fucking
to do.
scary.
Yeah,
Giant deformed space clowns that are just like I said, slurping you up like you're a fucking go-gurt. And just like, oh, that's gnarly. But I digress. We're here to hear Felipe's story, not talk about.
One more thing. I just remembered the movie I was thinking about. It was called Creep.
Creep.
I was
Okay.
saying Maniac for some reason. I think that was a Netflix show that's unrelated. I just had to get that out. I was talking about it's with the Elijah Wood.
And he's the bad guy in that, right? Yeah. Elijah Wood just looks like he could play a really
could.
good creepy
It is.
fuck.
It's,
He
y'all
is.
haven't seen it. It's a pretty good. It's not a horror movie. It's more like a thriller, suspense, horror-ish. It's good, but you're gonna have a hard time with it.
Fair enough.
there's a movie like that I've been meaning to watch that stars Matt Smith that I've heard about. Or no, I'm sorry, David Tennant, not Matt Smith.
No, David Tennant, if it's a horror movie I'm thinking about where like his dad raised horses and stuff, it is like a psychological thriller horror, and fucking David Tennant can play a mean creepy fuck, which everybody's learned from Jessica Jones.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But in that movie, it's like that, but no, he doesn't have magical mindfucky powers, but good God, he's a fucking nightmare in that movie.
Well, even talking about Jessica Jones, like the thing that like bothered me the most in that show that he did was making the kids go in the closet. It's like those kids are gonna fucking die in there.
Oh yeah, no, he was scary shit in there.
And I have a soft spot. I've always had a soft spot when it comes to kids and bad things happening to kids.
Yeah, those are always the hardest to watch. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
even
the
like
opposite. I'm always bitching that the kids never get got in horror movies for
Yeah,
the most part. I'm always like, oh, the fucking kid never gets done in.
And then when they do, though, you're like, oh,
And I'm like,
God.
oh, look at them. They killed the kid. Good job.
like,
well,
what kind of maniac?
even a horror movie thing. It's not that necessarily. It really comes down to adults doing shitty things to kids.
Yeah.
A movie. This isn't a horror movie, but this one really. This one made me cry. I think the movie's called Brother.
I thought you're like, this is a movie that's made me cry, and you started to say a B, and I thought you were about to be like Bridge to Terabithia. I'm like, I know this is not chiller filler, and we're gonna get off the movie subject here, but I just want to tell everybody out there, fuck the Bridge to Terabithia with their bullshit kangaroo jackass advertising where they're like, it's gonna be a movie kind of like Narnia, and then you get in theaters. And it's not like Narnia. There's no real mythicism to it, and they fucking snuffed the little girl.
I never saw that. But even it's not that bothers me. Kids dying because they did something stupid or
like, that's fine.
killed by a
Fucking
creature.
stupid kid.
Yeah.
That's not what bothers me. It's when kids are suffering through things they can't control.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's what bothers me. Like I said, I think the movie's called Brother. It's about a guy who goes. He gets really traumatic issues due to the military, and when he comes back, he lashes out at his family when he's at home and stuff.
Oh, Brothers with
Yeah,
Tobey
Brothers.
Maguire?
Yeah.
Oh god,
That's a
no,
good
fuck
movie.
that movie. Don't
That-
go watch that.
Watch it. Watch it.
As a young adult, as an adult, maybe mid-20s
young
when I
adult,
watched
my ass.
it, it fucked me up. It made me cry.
Fair enough.
Things like that is what, like I said, that scene from Jessica Jones where he tells the kids to go into the closet and not come out. And those kids are just going to be in there till they die. Things like that.
Break me.
Yeah.
break
That's
me.
why we gotta
Exactly.
sit down and finish Hill House because fuck, you're just missing so much. It's such a good show.
Look, I want to finish Hill House.
When Brandon gets a car, we can finish Hill House. But let's go. We're gonna hand it over to Felipe. He's got some stories to tell us.
Yeah.
We'll get off the movie thing here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which one do you guys want to hear about first? Like I said,
Man.
I have two of them.
It's like Goosebumps, choose your own adventure type shit, man. You pick the path we're going down.
Okay.
We're here to listen and judge you.
And judge me.
Yeah,
feel
That's
free
kind
to-
of our whole thing.
Well, feel free to judge me.
We will be chirping.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna take everybody back to 1970 in Natchez, Mississippi. This is actually a story that happened to my mom and my grandmother while they were driving the Natchez Trace Parkway in 1970. My mom and her parents, or my mom and her mother, with her best friend and her mom and dad, were traveling to Natchez Trace up to Mississippi, through Mississippi, and into Alabama, on the way to Alabama. And just to give you a brief info on the Natchez Trace, it's 444 miles long. This will come into play later in the story. But it's essentially just 440 more miles long of a trek, a road that runs straight through Mississippi, Alabama, and into Tennessee.
Or three pretty dicey states in the
Gotta say,
1970s.
I'm pretty sure I've driven that
Yeah.
road.
I mean, hopefully not late at night. But it was more commonly used by Native Americans, European settlers, slave traders, and soldiers. Way back when, and I don't know if it has any relevance, but the tribe that used it were the Kaintucks. That was the name of the tribe, and they were mainly like goods traders and good stuff. But they would have these boats that they would take down the Mississippi River, and to trade goods, furs, stuff like that. So it was a well-traveled path, and in the 1970s, it was still pretty rural. If you look on the website today, they've modernized it. There's all kinds of camping and shit out there, which I don't recommend because this story terrified me when I was a kid.
Fair enough.
They make it look beautiful on the website, but I guarantee at midnight, as this story takes place, it is not so pretty. But anyways, they were driving on the Natchez Trace Parkway a little after midnight, and they were coming around a turn on one of the roads in Natchez, Mississippi. This is like at the very beginning of this trail. As they're coming around this corner, they see off to the side of the road what appears to be a young man, and it's very distinctly like human looking, crouched on the side of the road. And as they're making this turn, he leaps out at their van. They're in a van, and leaps on the hood of their car. And my mom, sitting in the back seat, gets a good view of the guy. She specifically said he had claws, like very distinct long nails and claws. He had fangs, like long teeth that actually protruded from his mouth, and his skin was gray, like grayish in color. So he attacks the car. The guy driving the van, his name, my mom calls him Uncle George.
Not to throw you off, but
No,
like
you're good.
that touches on a fear of mine, is especially in this area, and like when I was working out in Chicago and stuff.
Is it hitting somebody with your car?
No,
with
it's
witnesses?
it's the fear of fucking crazy ass homeless people
Just
jumping out and
spazzing out.
onto the car.
Yeah.
Because like they will be like out there like twitching, or like I mean right down in MLK and everything in Beaumont, there'll be people sitting there fucking yelling at the sky and fucking. There's one guy that was running around holding a shoe the other day,
and
it's
lost
just-
his mind.
and there's
you know.
sometimes they look like they're contemplating it, or they start to jut out towards you, and you're like, this is gonna be the day I kill a homeless person because they fucking throw themselves on my car.
Anytime somebody is standing right by the road, I have a fear that they're trying to commit insurance fraud.
So I'm like, I'm scared I'm gonna kill somebody. Matt's like, I'm scared somebody's coming for my insurance money.
Well,
Yeah.
this was certainly not the case. So this guy attacks their car. The guy driving, his name's Uncle George. That's what my mom called him. Hits the guy, and the guy bounces off the hood of the car, rolls off in the ditch. Well, they immediately slam on their brakes, and you know everyone's freaked out in the van. Like, oh my god, did you see that? He just jumped at the car. It's like, yeah, he didn't look normal. Like, what is wrong? And
Crack.
yeah, I know, like crack. I don't know if it was an epidemic back then in the 1970s. I'm sure it was, but I don't know how bad it was in Mississippi.
I'll tell you what, 1970s, a rural ass road in the middle of Mississippi. I hit something that looks like a scary wild person. I'm going. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't give a shit.
these are good, God-fearing people. I will
That's
say
not
that
me.
about
I'm not good
my
God-fearing
mom,
people. I will leave
my
his ass in the
grandmother.
road.
My mom, my grandmother, and you know these people. You know they're very Christianly people.
I'm not getting
So they're like,
hillside
oh my God, we have to make sure he's okay. So they pull over on the side of the road, and they can hear him like moaning, obviously because he's in pain. But while they're parked there on the road, they hear whenever he moans, something out on the field on where he jumped out from is moaning back. It's almost like
Oh.
they're communicating with each other.
Shit.
Yeah, see, no. God-fearing people or not, at that point, you get your ass back in the car. He's fine. He's communicating with his people. They'll come get his ass.
Yeah, you're about to get ganged on. boys.
Yeah, no, I'm not
See, in
getting...
today's standards, yeah, we think that, you know, back then they're just like, oh
No.
God, we've never hit anybody with our
Fuck
car.
that. I'm not getting jumped
Well,
by fucking...
I hope they're not like, oh, we hit somebody with our car.
No,
put
drive
another,
off.
No, I'm not
another
getting
notch
jumped
on the
by
board.
fucking Mowgli from the fucking Jungle Book and his fucking homies. That's not happening.
Well, if this wasn't in the 70s, you could just get back in your car and call somebody.
Yeah,
But
I know.
It's in the 70s. All the more reason that you can just get up and fucking go.
Yeah, you know how easy it is to get away with hitting somebody with your car in the 70s?
Yeah, he's not snapping a picture of your license plate. He's not calling anybody. He's not Instagramming it or anything. He's just going to lay there. And like I said, his fucking jungle
His homies will get
boys,
him.
his fucking weird backwoods homies are going to come get him. It'll be fine. They'll make him a splint out of some bark. He'll be as good as new.
Yeah,
Yeah, even if a cop shows up, you're like, somebody hit me with their car. Oh, really?
that's the thing.
That sucks.
It's a personal problem.
The cops do get involved.
I need you to track them down.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do? It's the 70s.
That's like the motto of the 70s.
Yeah. It's like, you can totally get away with that shit.
This is the
Hit and run
70s,
is not, it's not going to hold up in rural Mississippi.
Jesus.
So they stop, and Uncle George, I'm just going to refer to him as George, wants to get out and check on the young man. But, you know, my grandmother and his wife, we'll call his wife Miss Bessie, or Bessie, says, no, don't get out of the car. There's a house just right up the hill, right up the road.
I like
All the
Bessie.
lights-
She's smart.
All the lights are on. All the lights are on in this house. We're like, well, they're awake, and it's 12. It's right after 12 o'clock at night. You figured people will be asleep, but no, this house has all of its lights on. So they drive up to the house. They knock on the door, and this man answers it. Let me get to my place. Yeah. So a man answers the door. He says, you know, we need your help. We hit somebody on the road down there. And, you know, he sounds like he's in pain. And still, this whole time, they drove up to this house. This guy's still on the side of the road moaning. Like, and the thing in the field is moaning right back at him. And so they're like, it's weird. I think there's somebody, down there. There's 2 people down there, but there's only one guy that jumped out and got hit. Well, the people immediately freak out and said, get in the house. Get in the house right now. What are you doing outside right now?
There's a reason that they have every light on in the fucking house at 12 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Get in the house. And so they get in the house and they borrow the phone. They call the cops. It says, oh, yeah, we'll be there in roughly 30 minutes, however long it takes, Mississippi cops to do their job. Well, while they're in the house, they're talking, the grown-ups are talking, and they're just trying to explaining what happened. And the family says, we don't know what would possess you to be out this late at night on this road, especially this stretch of road, but it is not safe at all. Like, no one ever travels this road at night. You're very lucky, and it's a very good chance that he was waiting for you to get out of that car, because whatever's in that field over there was waiting for you to get out of that car.
Exactly. Stay in the fucking car and just
So these
go.
people, they live in this area, so they know what the deal is. Well, like I said, 30 minutes later, or, an amount of time, my mom couldn't really remember the exact amount of time, but she does remember the last time she looked up when the cops got there. It's about 2 a.m., so roughly an hour and a half, 2 hours have passed. The cops get there. And George wants to accompany the cops down to, check on the young man. Like I said, these are still good people. They're like, we just want to make sure he's okay. We feel so bad. These are good people. So to give them credit, I mean, they were doing the Samaritan thing. And once they get down there, this is where the story splits. My mom stays at the house with the family while George goes down with the cops and Bessie to go check on the young man on the side of the road. They get down there. They ride in the cop car down there, and George says, well, we're going to get out and check on him? Like, you guys are the cops. There's 4 cops there. And he's like, we're not getting out until the ambulance gets here. What do you mean? I'm like, we can see him right there. He's like writhing on the ground and moaning and like he's probably dying. He's like, we're not getting out of this car until the ambulance gets here. And so, so he's, George is still just absolutely just flabbergasted. Like, what is going on? This man could be dying right now, and we're not going to get out and help him. Well, 30 minutes later, the ambulance arrives. Then everybody gets out to, check on him. First responders are doing their thing. This is where Bessie gives her account because she actually stood right next to the man. Bessie, and also my grandmother was there with them. So my grandmother's account as well, which she was able to confirm before she passed that this story did happen. She's there. They're standing next to the young man as they're getting ready to load him onto the stretcher. They said, like I said, all the characteristics, he had grayish skin. He had very visible teeth, fangs coming out of his hands, and he had, claw-shaped nails. And they're like, it's bizarre. Like, he looks like a wild man. Like, he doesn't look certainly not normal. So they get him on the stretcher. And the one distinction that my grandmother made is that when they put him on the stretcher, I don't know if you know how long a stretcher is, but it's about, I think, 7 to 8 foot long. They said when they loaded him on the stretcher, his feet hung off of the stretcher by a foot. So he was over 7 to 8 foot tall. He's a big guy.
Yeah, that's
So they load him on the stretcher, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to take him to this hospital now. Not the hospital, this hospital. They didn't say what the name of the hospital was. They just said this hospital.
AKA the river.
The river. Dump him in the body.
Fucking rolled his ass in there.
This is never going to be our problem ever again.
the nearest furnace we can find.
And my mom, my grandmother, and Miss Bessie, they're allowed to ride in the back of the ambulance with the young man, with the paramedics and everything. Like I said, I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Everybody's giving me looks.
Yeah,
I understand how crazy it sounds.
Different strokes for different folks. They're like, you want to ride back here with 7 foot tall wild boy? And I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Do you need our insurance information? Are we done here? I'm like,
It's like, but all they cared about is making sure he was all right. So Bessie and my grandmother ride in the back of the ambulance with the man to the hospital. While George comes back up, picks my mom and her friend up from the house. They ride in the cop car to the hospital. From the back of the ambulance, my grandmother gives a description of what happened next. While they're in transport to the hospital, they see his fingernails recede back into his hand.
That's when you're getting. I'm asking that. I'm knocking on the ambulance. Like, can you please pull over?
Yeah, just let me out.
Yeah.
No, not let me out. Roll his ass out.
Well, I mean, assuming they're gonna
There's
keep-
more of
that's
him out
true.
there. I'm
There's
not getting
multiple
out.
on this
Yeah.
road.
I'd be like, roll him out.
Oh.
Like, he's not human. He has retractable fingernails. You are no longer under your oath to take care of him. You're not a vet. Roll his ass out of here.
Anybody got an axe?
Yeah.
Something to get trapped.
You're supposed to use silver, but I imagine if they're in bits, there's not much they can do.
Learn from Monster Squad. A werewolf can get blown up by a grenade and come back together. So,
Oh, the reliable source. That's Monster Squad.
exactly.
But his nails, return back to normal. His teeth or fangs, if you want to call them, recede back into his gums. And his skin turns back to a normal color. And he shrinks about 1 foot to 1.5 foot. Back to where he fits on the stretcher again. So he's like normal. They're like, that doesn't.
Hi, my name's Dave.
Right in front of their eyes, it happens. And my grandmother, I don't have reason she would lie or make up a story. Like I said, they're good people.
So
They went to the extreme to ride in the back with the scary son of a gun to make sure he was okay. So she says, yeah, that's what happened.
These are much better people.
Well, I've learned from this, like, one, don't go backwoods Tennessee at night, but also, not only does silver cure werewolves, you hit one with a car too, and it does it good too.
It clears up lycanthropy like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oof.
So, this isn't even the strangest part of this story yet, believe it or not.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It gets more interesting. So as they get to the hospital, they call it, they get to the cemetery gates, and in the middle of the cemetery
There's
is
a
the
bonfire.
hospital. The hospital is in a cemetery. You can very plainly see, because my mom and my grandmother, are taking the same road. They're following each other in these cars, and they're looking around, and it's like, this is a cemetery. Why are we in a cemetery? Well, up ahead is the hospital. And not only is there a hospital in a cemetery, a huge cemetery, there's also houses in the cemetery with all their lights on. People live in a cemetery, which I've never heard. I don't know if that's normal here in Texas.
That
I
actually,
can confirm it's not.
that is actually normal. Not a bunch of people living in a cemetery, but usually cemeteries have a house for whoever is supposed to take care of the
But it
cemetery.
usually is just the one house.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Not
Like,
a fucking community
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
working hospital.
My mom, she says there were houses, so more than just the one. There's
What if-
several houses?
what if the houses came first and the cemetery just happened because of
all
lazy
these
planning?
people died around the houses? We'll just
I don't know,
build the
fucking
cemetery.
bury him out front.
Yeah.
And then people just started walking by, like, can we bury our people here? Like, oh, fuck
Sure.
it. Sure.
Yeah. At the same time, he's like, mind if we put this hospital over here
Yeah,
too?
look, there's nothing weird about it. It was just very smart. It was, look,
No.
how much does it cost to bury somebody in a
No,
cemetery?
it's weird.
Location,
the fucking
location,
Monster Mash
location.
hospital for wayward critters in the fucking middle of the woods. No, fuck that.
That was a town in dire need of funding, and they found a niche to fill.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh. All right. So they drive to the emergency room. The emergency room at this hospital in the cemetery. When they get to the emergency room, Bessie and my grandmother obviously get out of the ambulance. They're getting ready to wheel the guy inside. Well, the emergency room has padlocks on it, like heavy, thick chain padlocks. I don't know. That's not common here in Texas or anywhere else.
No.
Why does an emergency room have padlocks on the
Padlocks
doors?
too if you had fucking
It's an-
werewolves in your woods.
It's an emergency room. So the police officer has to call an armed guard who has a rifle and everything to come unlock the padlock so they can wheel this guy in there. So they wheeled the young man into the hospital.
Hold on, sorry. Were the locks on the inside or the outside of the doors?
My mom said both, the inside and outside.
Fuck this whole place.
I mean, can you picture, like, in your mind, in this scenario, it's hella early in the morning. You're nothing but a 12, 13-year-old kid. having this experience, getting attacked, your van getting attacked by some wild man, then taking him to a hospital in the middle of a fucking cemetery. You're just like, this is out of a comic book. This is fairy tale.
It's not out of a comic book. It sounds like you're in the fucking town that the music video Thriller fucking went down in. You got fucking werewolves and fucking cemetery where the fucking zombies are gonna pop up at any second.
I don't know. So they get the young man in there. They're take him to this, a whole operating room to check him out, make sure he's okay. And, they pretty much tell my mom and, George, Bessie, and my grandma to sit and wait in the waiting room. We'll let you know what happens. So about 2 hours goes by, and this lady and her daughter, a middle-aged woman, enter the hospital and, and obviously in a panic. Oh, my God, where is he? Where is he? And they realize, oh, this must be his mom and his sister. My mom had to state that the women, I don't know why she stated this, but she's like, they were just very beautiful women. Like, they looked completely normal. Like, they were very attractive young women. But apparently it was his mom and his twin sister. And she said his sister had, really nice red hair and big green eyes.
Fucking ginger snaps. It's a fucking ginger werewolf.
Confirmed. All gingers are werewolves. They should be put down with extreme hostility.
Oh.
Okay, Matt.
I know, right? Just staring at her.
I got two redheads over here. Well, you don't know that yet.
Look, all I'm saying is I don't want to run across you in a dark, unlit road in Tennessee.
Well, no, you can. First and foremost, you can absolutely never trust weird, local, attractive women in horror movie-esque settings. It never ends well. She's either going to turn into something or she's luring you to something that is going to get you.
Yeah, I've seen Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. I know what's up.
I know what's up.
Werecats.
Yeah.
The only thing worse than werewolves. Gotta put them down
werepuss.
9 times before you're done.
So, these two women come in. He's like, oh, they assure, the doctors come out and assure him, like, he's fine. He's going to be all right. This is what's happened. Well, they come over to my mom and my grandma and thanking them so much for, like, we can't thank you enough. Don't worry. It's not your fault. It's okay. Like, you don't have to worry. We're not upset. We're not mad. He's okay. That's all that matters. Like, we're not going to press charges. None of that. Like, everything's going to be okay. And of course, everybody just kind of breathes a sigh of relief. He's going to be okay. Nobody's going to jail for the attempted homicide, apparently.
I don't know. If I was your mom and grandmother, I'd ask to exchange insurance information. You probably fucked up that car pretty good.
1970.
Oh, you really think the fucking wolf boy has fucking insurance?
Well, here's the thing.
He did. And it was really
he has
good.
insurance. That comes into play. Not the insurance part, but how this whole thing gets kind of wrapped up. After that, they leave to go be with the young man. Afterwards, maybe my mom says maybe 10, 15 minutes later, they're still waiting. They're waiting for someone to come tell them they can leave because the cops still haven't given them the okay. Well,
and they're padlocked inside.
Yeah. They're still padlocked inside at this point. So the sheriff comes over. He's like, all right, well, everything's good. He's not hurt, obviously. Nobody's trying to get you guys for the insurance money.
Yeah, your car's not made out of silver. So
yeah,
the 1970s car, anyways. It's probably good to go. It probably doesn't have a fucking dent on it.
You're good to go. He's like, well, I can't discuss with you the full. He says, I can't discuss with you the full details, or I'm not supposed to, but I'm gonna do it anyways because no one's ever gonna believe you when you tell this story.
Well, that's not good when a cop says that to you.
I know a sheriffer, a sheriffer.
I'm gonna enlighten you,
an officer of the law.
Only because nobody's going to believe what I say.
Exactly.
Go tell the story, bitch.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that from a cop.
I know. I mean, in 1970, I don't know what the culture was back then.
Not great.
I mean, I'm sure people from that area or, in general were like, well, the sheriff should be a good guy. Take him at his word. He's the law around these parts. But when he tells you, he's like, I'm going to tell you some stuff that ain't nobody gonna fucking believe. So don't even bother, telling anybody. He tells them, all right, so what you guys need to understand is that young man he's a patient at a very special hospital about 200 miles.
Specialer than this fucking hospital?
Believe it
This
or
is
not.
just your run-of-the-mill cemetery hospital.
But the hospital, mental hospital, is 200 miles away. He's like, that young man before midnight, he was reported, him and his friend, who was, you can assume, was in the field waiting for you guys to get out of the car, were in their beds at bedtime check. 200 miles away.
Lord.
So in the course of roughly an hour, they traveled over 200 miles, and that's when they hit you just after midnight.
Well, that's when they hit him just after midnight.
Yeah. So he's like, you understand that that's impossible for a human being to do, right? Everyone just kind of nods in agreement, like, that sounds strange if it's true. He's like, it's true, but that is impossible for a human being to do because he is not human. His kind are werewolves. Everyone just kind of didn't know how to react at that point. He said werewolf. My mom specifically heard him say werewolf. And
Portals.
I don't know, to think how he's like, it's impossible for a human to run 200 miles in that short amount of time.
Also impossible to
kind
watch a
can
human
move-
shrink by a foot. So
Yeah. His kind can move so fast. He says they move as the crow flies, as that term goes. So very swiftly.
Wait, I thought as the crow flies means a straight line.
Well, it's a straight line. Well, 200 miles in a straight line from where they
Quick.
were. I don't know. I thought I always thought it was quick, but that's the quote that the sheriff used. He said, "As the crow flies." He's like, so there you have it. That's what you guys encountered, and you need to know how much danger you were actually in tonight. All right, to make that very clear that he was not alone. Had you gotten out of that vehicle to check on him, you would have been attacked. He looked everyone in the eye when he said this. You would have been dead. You would have been dead. You would have been dead.
Everybody would be dead.
I know. Imagine being, my mom, a 13-year-old kid, an officer saying, you would have died.
You, especially you,
Yeah.
you would be fucked.
they
You
might
watch
have made
everybody
it.
else die, and then
You
you're
were gone.
ass.
You'd be double dead. I'd have killed you myself.
So, pretty traumatic and memorable. And he's like, well, there it is. The facility this young man comes from, you'll never read about it in any papers. You'll never read about this night. It'll never come up. There will never be a report on this, ever. He comes from a special facility that very wealthy people pay to have members of their family sent to be taken care of. So, yeah, it's completely covered up. No one will ever know about it, but it does exist. And he says the young man's name was Dale Koch. That was the young man's name.
Of the Coca-Cola family.
I know, right? It makes sense. What the fuck are they putting in Coca-Cola?
The Dale Coke.
Yeah. It was Dale Koch. That was the young man's name. And, but yeah, nothing was ever reported in the newspapers. Nothing like that. They said they left that night. They promptly left. They're like, all right, well, we're getting our shit and getting out of here then. Have a good night.
I don't think I'd be able to
They're
go
not
back to
sticking
that
around.
area.
Yeah, moral of the story, don't go to Alabama, Tennessee,
Mississippi. Yeah.
Mississippi, or Kentucky.
Yeah.
See, we don't need to worry about those things here. Anything with fur doesn't want to live here in the swamp-ass capital of the world.
Yeah, perma swamp ass if you're a fuzzy critter. That's why Skunk
So you
Cape's such a
imagine,
pissy
like,
bitch.
When he says the facility was 200 miles away, I mean, the Natchez Trace is 444 miles, 450 miles of road, of pass. So who knows where that facility is on that 4 miles. Evidently 200 miles from where he attacked.
I would
My
be
mom.
curious to see what if y'all have any Kentucky listeners, or I don't know.
Yeah, if you're from Kentucky and you work at this facility, spill the goods.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Mr. Coke. Give us your side of the story.
Oh, he's in a mental asylum, apparently. He'll be locked up there forever.
They don't
Unless
have-
he gets out again, apparently.
They don't have Twitter in mental asylums.
Yeah, but, Mississippi, Alabama, or Tennessee, and then just above that, Kentucky. They said when they went and finished their trip, they got they were there for like the weekend or whatever, and on their way back, they drove through and they stopped at, they didn't drive at night, but they stopped during, they drove through it during the day and stopped at the gas stations and in the little towns. Like, hey, do you guys ever hear anything of an accident? Check the newspapers. Nothing was ever reported. Nothing was ever on the news. It was
Or they took his ass out back and old yellered him.
completely covered up. But that is my mom's story. It did happen on the Natchez Trace roadway in Mississippi. That is that story.
Beyond bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that story is absolutely terrifying.
No, you don't get a lot of, like, there is tons of folklore about werewolves and everything.
Yeah.
Been around forever, but you don't get a lot of, like, people are like, I've got a paranormal experience. It's always like a ghost or a demon or this or that, and like seldomly do you get like
And what's
werewolf.
What stuck with me the most on the story, because from every like typical werewolf story you hear about, oh, they look like a dog or half wolf, half man. No, this was like a wild man. So it was like a truer form of what a werewolf would be, I guess.
Lack of better terminology, teen wolf type werewolf.
Yeah, I was thinking Buffy.
Yeah. Well, Buffy is like a mix between the two because the dude stays on his two legs and he's more human. If anything, the werewolves on Buffy looked more like a pissy Sasquatch. If anything, you really think about it. And there's nothing threatening about Seth Green as a werewolf. His like 5'2" ass.
Yeah, maybe it was during maybe I'm picturing him before a full transition. It's been a long time since I've seen those episodes.
starts to go. That's why I went with the Teen Wolf one, actually, like the modern Teen Wolf, because when that, they just kind of get the furried brow, the ears change, fangs, eyes, claws, that come out and everything, instead of like the full on like looks more like a wolf than man type thing, like an anthropomorphic wolf.
Dracula version of a werewolf.
Yeah.
Look like somebody suffering from hypertrichosis.
Yeah. And one thing, like,
fancy term.
I thought, I'm like, these rich families, like, 1970s, weren't they kind of like inbred, maybe? They wanted to keep all the genetics in the family back then.
Yeah, well, my first thought was like the kids that are raised in the wild, like because they get lost or whatever. There are stories like that, and it sounded like that up until
retracting
claws.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, my grandmother saw him shrunk. His claws went back in, and his teeth went back in, and his skin changed from real pale, like gray, to regular skin tone.
You'd think all those legends come from somewhere. The legends of skinwalkers and werewolves have been around as long as human beings have been around, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, people talk about Skinwalker shape-shifting. Maybe that is what people think, like what people mean when they say shape-shifting.
Yeah. It's not like full transformation, but it is like a more animalistic stance and stature, and they kind of transform. I know, like, what is it? There's an actual like mental disease called lycanthropy or or something like that, where people actually like have the mental disease where they think they turn into werewolves, and they've actually been known. I think it was the first case was like in England, where a guy was locked up and he's like, don't let the moon touch me, or don't let the moon come from my jail cell, and he like goes crazy, becomes a wild man, he said, and it scared even the guard outside of the cell because he was just so aggressive. But yeah, that was that story.
So was this something that you were just raised with, hearing the story, or was it a certain point in time that you were told, or
like you're of age now? We need to tell you.
It was.
He actually had to go into the woods and kill a wolf to earn the right for the story.
Yeah, to really know. My mom, I would say she kind of considered it as a rite of passage, and she would only tell it. I first heard the story on a camping trip at Lake Livingston. We went out there. We would go out there maybe once or twice every summer with my whole family, my brothers and sisters, everybody, and we would all go out there and camp for the weekend.
So about how old were you whenever you first heard?
12, 13.
So I'm sure that
proper age. So yeah,
that would have scared them.
I was scarred at this age.
I know my mom picked.
You should be too.
My mom picked the best time to tell it because it's out in the woods where the shit happens, and it's late at night. She would she wouldn't make us, but she would get us to stay up till kind of late, and she would tell us kids. And she's kind of done it with, well, my son's not of age yet. So I'm assuming she hopes to be able to share that with him as well.
So he too cannot sleep while camping in the woods.
Yeah, it sounds like mom's like, I hate camping. I can't sleep. I think about this horrible shit that happened to me. And she's like, everybody else is going to feel exactly like I feel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, my mom.
Shared trauma.
She's my mom. I mean, I love my mom.
She lives for the nightly tears of preteens.
But the thing is, like, other than that, she's just a sweet lady. She goes to church on Sundays and, is very polite and friendly.
And by night, she scars 12-year-olds.
Yeah. But it's like the one thing she has from her childhood that she enjoys sharing, because it's something that I guess my family it's been prominent in our lives, in our history.
Well, that's something you want to keep alive for
Exactly.
sure.
And it's part of, her story, her whatever you call it. Legacy.
I was about to say
should we
legacy. Yeah, legacy would.
Dale Koch's going to be writing in, she hit me with a car.
I know. I was hit.
No,
I'm seeking reparations.
Stuff like that sticks with you your whole life. You just want to get it, for the most part. You want to get it out there and let people know, because you're like, it happened to you. And then you just want it to be validated by telling other people. Now, on the other side of that, it can bite you in the ass too. I mean, of course, there's gonna be people like whatever, and there's gonna be people like us
for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And this is something that I've experienced with other friends who have personal stories, and it's easy to write off somebody's story when you don't know the person. It's easy to say, oh, you heard that from somebody, or this person's just making it up for attention, et cetera, et cetera. But when you know a person and they're not the type of person to just make up a story like that, it really
hits different.
Yeah, it hits so much different.
Well, I know you guys don't know my mom personally, but yeah.
But to know your experience hearing the story.
Yeah.
And to share a story that, again, generally speaking, who doesn't trust
their mom,
their parent? Yeah. No parent's just going to go and make up a story like that. And then, okay, they will, but to hold to it, even once you're an adult, and to
means it was
treat it not as a joke, especially if you do have a good relationship with your parents and you trust that family member, or that other person who has told you their story, and that person's not one to just make shit up.
And like I said, my grandma was able to confirm it too. So that was another. I just have to reiterate that, because not only is it not just my mom, but it's an actual whole other generation that experiences as well.
They killed somebody with their car and they're just trying to cover it up.
I mean, who knows? If so, I mean, kudos for them for having a spectacular imagination.
Anything to bury the lead.
Mommy, did we hit somebody?
It was a werewolf. We're doing the Lord's work.
There was another little quip about when they were in the house waiting for the cops to show up so they could go check on them. The family they were with, the little girl who was in that family was telling my mom and her friend, it's like, that's not the only time something like this has happened down here.
Yeah, we hit people with a car all the time. Sometimes they're not even werewolves.
She said it's like, there was another time this couple, young man, young woman, were driving through here, and we saw their headlights come down a road. And the next morning, we found their car just not 2 miles up the road. Apparently, they had a flat, and they were found on the side of the road, with their no blood in their body, something sucked all their blood out.
There's werewolves and vampires out in Tennessee.
Werepires.
Yeah, that's why you don't get out of the fucking car. But it's only 100 miles to the next gas station. We'll just drive on the rim.
So, this back road in Mississippi, like I said, you can go online and look it up right now, and it looks amazing. It looks like, it's such a big tourist attraction. Come,
that's what the vampires and werewolves want you to think. They're like, that looks nice. Come here. That's cool.
It's going to be like Dust Till Dawn.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Well, apparently,
just hipster werewolves, though.
As I was I was looking it up. What's this place look like now? And apparently, you can bike the whole thing.
Hard
I'm
pass.
good.
Like on a bicycle, it takes you like 12 days to do it if you want to do it, and there's camping spots along the way so you can
What the
camp.
werewolves want.
Yeah.
Aside from the werewolves, I'm not biking a mile of that because I'm fat and lazy.
But yeah, anybody else have any questions I can hopefully answer about that?
I unless you can give me GPS coordinates for this place.
Well, they said it was like they were turning on to the Natchez Trace Parkway, so like they had just entered.
No. I mean
He's
the mental
saying too, so he
hospital.
can
to the
fucking
hospital.
avoid it.
Yeah.
Well, shit, I can't imagine it was too far from where it happened because
I need to turn some satellites on that bitch.
yeah,
I need answers.
they're just looking for look up graveyards in Mississippi, and you know. But who knows? Maybe even that one's covered up too. She said, I mean, it was dark, but she distinctly remembers it was a graveyard. They drove through like the cemetery gates, and there was headstones and shit everywhere, and there was houses, like she said, pretty decent sized houses, just kind of randomly throughout the graveyard.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, no thanks.
I don't want to live close to a graveyard, let alone in one.
Yeah, no, I've lived next to a few graveyards, and there's nothing like coming home late from Walmart or work and just driving past the cemetery right before you turn into your driveway.
Oh yeah, I've lived by a
Oh
cemetery
yeah,
too.
or even if you don't see like spooky shit, there's been cases where like hurricanes have come through
Oh,
here,
yeah.
and it's brought bodies out of the ground
like
and like
yeah.
put them in
Orleans, yeah.
trees and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the lazy river at fucking Slitterbond, but instead of people on floats, it's just corpses and coffins.
yeah.
That's why there's a lot of cemented plots
God,
in
yeah.
Louisiana and Texas. Now,
Yep.
to be fair, Louisiana and Galveston have tons of those because they're like water rises, bodies and coffins float. Texas, for the longest time, it wasn't a thing because we hadn't flooded a lot. And then, you know, these
Yeah,
last
Texas
few
had to learn a
years,
lesson.
Yeah,
we were like,
bury your dead above ground.
maybe we should cement a little bit. Yeah, because it's gotten pretty fucking gnarly.
Oh yeah.
So Felipe, we want to thank you for coming in and telling us your story.
Absolutely.
I fucking always love hearing personal account and family stories.
Oh, absolutely. And I look forward to the next story you have for us.
And then I'd like to thank Creepy Kitty for coming on and trying out to replace Boze.
Yeah,
We like the energy you're bringing.
did I?
It's on par with Brandon.
I mean,
really.
she asked a good question.
It's
like,
not as depressing, but just as like somber and
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking originally. But no, I was really happy to sit on and listen to that story.
glad
but,
you guys enjoyed it.
But like I said, we'll be back with Felipe. He has another story for us, and we'll have another guest. So this has been Logan.
it's been Matt.
Felipe.
And Kayla.
You guys keep it spooky.
To support other Golden Mojo Entertainment productions, check out Golden Image Podcast, The Call Guys, and Murd Nerds wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. To see photos and find new episodes of the United States of Paranormal, follow us on our social media. Twitter at TUSOPPOD, or Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and Facebook, the United States of Paranormal. If you have a place that you'd like us to look into, or would like to share your spooky story that we can read on the air, please email us at theunitedstatesofparanormal@gmail.com.